Let's get back into court in Georgia, where crime scene investigators testifying to evidence collected from the defendant's car. The defendant, Miles Bryant, had a Ford 150 truck, and she's talking about what was in it.
These are going to be some more zip cables.
Okay. And are these all in a package?
Yes.
Okay. Next one, 17.10. What are we looking at here?
That's a GPS tracker that was located within the vehicle.
Okay. And do you remember where that was located at?
I believe it was the front passenger door pocket.
Okay. And what are these used for? Do you know?
Front driver's side door pocket, I'm sorry.
Front driver's side door pocket.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm glad you clarified. So, do you know what these are used for?
Tracking.
Okay. This one in particular, can it be affixed to anything? Do you recall?
I think it can, but I'm not super familiar with those kind of devices. I don't have them.
We'll move to the next one. 17 point, I can't read it now, sorry. 11. What is this?
That's going to be a stack of $20 bills, 50 bills to be exact, that were located within a sealed evidence bag within the vehicle.
Okay. 50 $20 bills, so that's $1,000?
Correct.
Okay. And they were inside of a sealed evidence bag?
Yes.
All right, like the type of evidence bag you might use in order to log and seal evidence from a crime scene or something?
That it would be from, yes, a crime scene or something.
Okay. This, and I want to be clear, the $1,000, the bag that this $1,000 is found in, was it like this when you found it, or did you put the money in the bag?
No, I located it just like that. That's the initial time that I picked it up from the vehicle.
Okay. To the next one. And what are we looking at here?
That's the photo right before I picked it up.
Okay, this photo of the $1,000 in the evidence bag?
You got it.
Okay. Do you recall if that had case information or things written on it for where it was supposed to go?
No.
Okay. To the next slide. What are we looking at here?
That's going to be handcuffs within a holster within the vehicle.
Hey, is it pretty common to see police officers carry handcuffs like this in a holster like that?
Yes, in their regular vehicle.
Okay. You say in their regular vehicle?
Not their personally owned vehicle. I haven't seen that before.
Okay. You have not seen it in a police officer's personal vehicle, but you've seen it before in police officers' police vehicles is what you're saying?
Correct.
Understood. All right. To the next one. All right. And what are we looking at here?
That's going to be a business card that was issued by the Gwinnett County Police Department, Officer Merkley, for a case number.
Okay. And the next slide, please. What is the case number associated with that business card that Officer Merkley issued?
He wrote it as GP 2200060902.
Okay. Off the top of your head, do you happen to know what that card is referenced to?
Yes, it was referencing a firearm that was reported stolen.
Okay. To the next photograph. And what is this?
These are going to be more items that were located in the personal vehicle, to include a driver's license belonging to a female.
Okay. And go to the next slide for me. All right. And is this the same driver's license?
Yes, it is.
All right. And who is this driver's license issued to?
It says Davina Elizabeth Jones Vargas.
All right. And to the next photograph. What are we looking at here?
That's going to be a Glock magazine that's located within the center console.
All right. I'm going to show you what I've marked as State's Exhibit 43 and ask if you recognize this.
Yes.
All right, and what is it?
This is going to be the Glock magazine, as well as a firearm holster that I recovered from the center console.
Okay. And how do you know that's what it is?
I labeled it, and then it has the case number and my initials on it.
All right. Does it appear to be tampered with in any way?
No.
All right. And Judge, I move to admit State's Exhibit 43.
No objection.
State's Exhibit 43 is admitted without objection.
Can you open it for me, please?
Yes.
Okay, so you have here in this bag this holster, and can you tell me who issued or who made the manufacturer of the holster?
It says "We the People" on it, so I'm not really quite sure who makes it, but it says "We the People."
Okay, that's fair enough. I'll take that. And this magazine here, what kind of firearm was this magazine associated with?
It's labeled with Glock as well as 9mm on the back.
All right, so it is a magazine that is it capable of holding 9mm ammunition?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the photograph we're looking at here, 17.18, is that exactly how you found it?
Yes.
All right. In that one, does it appear to have ammunition in it?
Yes, it does have live cartridges in it.
I've asked to bring in my guests because there's a lot of information I want to unpack quickly before we have to go to break. Here in studio, former prosecutor Tommy Pope, also joining us, criminal defense attorney Dante Pride. Let me just ask you both, as we're listening to the evidence collected out of the personal vehicle belonging to the defendant, I took notes: zip cuffs, disposable gloves, GPS tracker, zip cables, gun magazine and firearm holster, and then $50, $20 bills, $1,000 in a sealed evidence bag. To me, none of that sounds good when you find all of that in a personal vehicle, Tommy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting what his role was in law enforcement. In other words, you know, Joe and I were talking earlier, if it was an undercover officer, then you might have certain things that I would keep because I would going to be going into an undercover vehicle that you wouldn't normally have in a marked cruiser or something. So there's an explanation, but with everything else surrounding, obviously it's questionable.
It's questionable, but Dante, if you were defending the defendant, how do you address this?
Hi, Judge Ashley. Thanks for having me again. I do think some of the items are questionable, but for instance, we'll talk about the ID card. He could have been handed that ID card from someone who lost an ID card and he just hadn't got it to the station yet. I think as a criminal defense attorney, I'd argue he might be just a little sloppy and has some things around his car that a normal cop would have, and he just kind of left them there.
Sloppy, that's what I thought too, because in the back seat we saw pictures, there was all kinds of trash and stuff. It was sloppy, so he just doesn't really keep track of his stuff. No big deal. I think that might be the best defense. We're going to see, because we know he'll take the stand. All right, stay with us. We need to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get you back inside this courtroom in Georgia.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, an in-depth look at the prosecution's case in the Karen Reed trial. We're breaking down key evidence as our experts weigh in.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Friday nights, the WNBA is on ION. This week, the Mystics host the Fever. Then the Storm will take on the Aces. Coverage starts tonight at 7. Check local listings for games in your area. ION, it's on. Yours.
Back to court in just a moment, but first, an update out of Ohio, where defendant John Carter pled guilty in a decades-old case just earlier today. Carter appeared in court this morning ahead of his scheduled June 24th trial, where he pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter in connection to his then-fiance's death. Caitlin Markham was days away from her 22nd birthday when she vanished in August of 2011. Her remains were found 2 years later, about 30 miles from her home. Carter faces up to 36 months in prison and is scheduled to be sentenced on July 18th. And in Georgia, former police officers on trial for murder. Miles Bryant is accused in the death of 16-year-old Susana Morales. She was reported missing back in the summer of 2022, and her remains were found the next year 20 miles from her home in suburban Atlanta. Let's get you back into court now, where a crime scene investigator is on the stand. She's been testifying about everything that she collected from inside the defendant's personal truck. Let's go back in.
Ammunition, yes.
There's probably so many terms. Real bullets ready to fire in the magazine. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 43.1. Can you tell me what that is?
Yes.
Or if you recognize it?
Yes, these are going to be the live cartridges that I removed from the magazine.
All right. Appear to anybody tamper with those?
No.
All right. And Judge, I move to admit State's Exhibit 43.1.
No objection. State's Exhibit 43.1 is admitted without objection.
All right. And we're not going to worry about opening it. It's a whole bunch. How many were in there?
15? Yes.
15. So 15 9mm rounds inside of this Glock magazine that was in there?
Yes.
Are you familiar with guns at all?
Yes.
All right, and that magazine, would it fit inside of a Glock 19 semi-automatic 9mm pistol?
I believe so.
Okay. And can we go to the next photograph? And what are we looking at here?
That's going to be the rear area of the truck. It has 4 trash bags in it.
All right, did you go through all of the trash bags that were in there?
I did.
Okay. Now, again, same procedures once you searched the truck. Did you take everything that you seized and logged it into evidence in the crime scene unit?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And lastly, I want to take you to State's Exhibit number, and we'll start with, I'm going to start with State's Exhibit number 38.1, and then we'll come back to the rest of them. After you searched the black Ford F-150, did you search the police-issued vehicle to Mr. Bryant?
I searched both of them on the same day, yes.
Same day, okay. And where did you search that vehicle at?
Also at Gwinnett County Police Headquarters.
Okay. And if you can go ahead and display State's Exhibit 38.1. All right. And Ms. Nettinger, what are we looking at here?
That's going to be the crime scene unit garage bay again with the vehicle in the back.
Okay. And what kind of, is this, it looks like a Ford Explorer to me. Is that what it is, or a Ford Police Interceptor, or what is it?
I'd have to see the back photo, but okay. Yes, that's what they typically are.
All right, and can we go to the next one? State's Exhibit 38.2. What are we looking at here?
That's going to be the front area of the vehicle with the MDT on the arm there.
All right, and can we go to the next photograph? That photograph, what are we looking at?
That's going to be the same area from the opposing side, so it's looking towards the MDT.
What is you're using the word MDT, or the initials, what is that?
That's a mobile data terminal. Police use it for communicating while on calls.
Okay, so police issued laptop?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 47. Can you tell us what this is?
Yes, this is the MDT that I collected from the vehicle.
And from the image, this is the same one that we're looking at here in State's Exhibit 38.3?
Yes.
And how can you tell that?
It has the case number written on it, as well as my initials.
Does it appear that anyone has tampered with it in any way?
No.
Okay. And, Your Honor, I move to admit State's Exhibit number 47.
State's Exhibit 47 is admitted without objection.
Ms. Nettinger, would you open this for me, please? All right. So this is, I guess, just all of the different parts of it here as well.
Yes.
I don't want to mess with it. Here on these, this here, the MDT, I guess, is it all one piece? I don't want to fall. Okay, so this here, that's the same thing that's sitting right there in Mr. Bryant's patrol vehicle, 38.3?
Yes, it is.
All right, now, does this operate kind of just like a laptop does?
Yes.
Opens up and you're able to open it up there. We'll break it. So, open it up, able to type things into it, access the internet, access stuff like that?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Whenever you, obviously you seized this, but what did you do with it when you got it?
I'll submit it to evidence and wait for any kind of further requests, a detective or any downloads.
Okay. So did you do anything with it other than take it from the vehicle and log it into evidence?
No.
Okay. And if we could go to the next photograph. All right, what are we looking at here?
That's going to be the same police vehicle. That's going to be the rear trunk.
All right, and here in the trunk, obviously is ballistic, bulletproof police issued vest?
Yes.
Okay. And also over here on the right, what were those on the right? These two larger, longer bags here.
Those are going to be rifle bags.
Okay. Were rifles in them?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And to the next photograph, 38.5. What are we looking at here?
That's after I've removed the vest and some other large items. There was an empty vodka bottle sitting in the trunk.
Okay. You can go ahead and turn the display off. After you searched the defendant's police-issued vehicle, did you turn those items into evidence as well, like we talked about?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and collect these two. Ms. Nettinger, I appreciate you being here, and I don't have any questions for you.
Thank you.
Defense may have. Ms. Ray?
Your Honor, even though I was handling the objections or not regarding the evidence, may Mr. Dobbins do cross?
Does they have any objection?
Oh, no,
No, okay.
No objection.
I did. Certainly.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Just a couple questions. You had indicated that in my client's personal vehicle, the black F-150, you had located, I believe it was zip cuffs, disposable gloves, a tactical vest, and handcuffs. To your knowledge, is that standard police equipment that a law enforcement officer would have?
Yes.
And I believe you said it was $1,000 that you located?
Yes, and $20 bills.
You say there was no case information on that bag. To your knowledge, was that actual evidence in any type of an ongoing case?
At least for Gwinnett County Police Department, we're not allowed to use evidence bags for our personal use. So if I locate something within an evidence bag, I assume it's related to a case.
Do you know if that's the policy of the Doorbell Police?
I'm not familiar with doorbell.
And what was the date of the search? Let me ask you this first. Were all three searches on both vehicles and the apartment done on the same day?
No, I believe the vehicles were done 2 days later.
Okay, and what were the dates for the searches?
The apartment was on the 13th, and then the vehicles were on the 15th.
One moment. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dobbins. Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. May we release this witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming up next, a woman who used to call defendant Brian her best friend takes the stand. What she now thinks of the former cop? That's next.
Do.
Coming soon to Court TV, the Strangled women murder trial. 30-year-old Wade Wilson is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. If convicted, he could get the death penalty, and Wilson says, "I'm innocent." Prosecutors say that he strangled 35-year-old Christine Melton and 43-year-old Diane Ruiz. Melton's body was found in her home. Ruiz was found dead in a field behind a Sam's Club. The state claims forensic evidence ties the women to Wilson. Opening statements begin Monday. Our Court TV cameras will be there for it all. Now let's get back to Georgia, where defendant Miles Bryant is on trial, charged in the death of 16-year-old Susana Morales. On the stand now is Bryant's former friend. Beginning of direct examination by the state. Let's go back in.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, before Ms. Matitucci begins the direct examination of this witness, I want to read to you one of the jury charges and a jury charge regarding this witness. Sometimes evidence is admitted for a limited purpose. Such evidence may be considered by the jury for the sole issue or purpose for which the evidence is limited and not for any other purpose. In order to prove its case in counts 1, 2, 3, and 4, the state must show intent. The state has offered evidence of other acts allegedly committed by the accused to prove intent and motive and to negate any defenses of accident or mistake. You are permitted to consider that evidence, this evidence of this witness, only insofar as it may relate to those issues and not for any other purpose. You may not infer from this evidence, this testimony, that the defendant is of a character that would commit such crimes. The evidence may be considered only to the extent that it may show the elements that the state is required to prove in the crimes charged in the case now on trial. Such evidence, if any, may not be considered by you for any other purpose. The defendant is on trial for the offenses charged in this bill of indictment only and not for any other acts, even though such acts may incidentally be criminal. Before you may consider any other alleged acts for the limited purposes stated, you must first determine whether it is more likely than not that the accused committed the other alleged acts. If so, you must then determine whether the act shed any light on the elements of the offenses for which the acts were admitted in the crimes charged in this indictment in this trial. Remember to keep in mind the limited use and the prohibited use of this evidence about other acts of the defendant. By giving you this limiting instruction, the court in no way suggests to you that the defendant has or has not committed any other acts, nor whether such acts, if committed, prove anything. This is solely a matter for your determination. All right. Ma'am, have you ever testified?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to kind of come forward. This is Sheila. She has taken down everything that's said in the courtroom by law.
I want to hit that pause button and bring back in former prosecutor Tommy Pope, criminal defense attorney Dante Pride. Dante, let me start with you. The limiting instruction for the jury, prior bad acts. Plain English, what does this mean?
Basically, the court is telling the jury they can't assume that this defendant committed these crimes based on the activities that they're going to talk about now, based on his prior conduct.
And do you think that, Tommy, this is the right place for the judge to give this limiting instruction, or does it confuse the jury?
I think at this point it is, because I assume what we're about to hear is what the defense already blew wide open of bad character, bad acts. And, you know, so the judge is trying to keep it tight for the jury that, you know, as you just heard, just because he did this doesn't mean he did the other, but it's to show intent or show, in South Carolina, common scheme and plan. You know, there's a limited thing. And it's always very tough for the prosecution because of the appealable issues that come in using this evidence and how you use it. So I think the prosecution has to tread lightly, keep it tight under the judge's instruction, and focus on what they're trying to prove that does tie to this case. But the jurors are human too, and so you know what the jurors are thinking. If he did this, he did that. They're going to be instructed? Absolutely not. It's kind of like using the right to remain silent. You know, they're told not to, but you have to wonder sometimes.
Yeah, and it may cause them not to like the defendant, and then you have to face that possibility. I like that description of common scheme and plan. I think it's an easier way to think of it when you're listening to the testimony. All right, we did hit the pause button. Let's go back in for the start of her testimony.
Okay.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Can you state your name?
ELASHA Bates.
And can you spell your full name?
ELASHA. Last name BATES.
And Miss Bates, how old are you?
23.
And Miss Bates, are you working?
I do.
What do you do for a living?
I work from home as a loan processor.
And what type of loans do you process?
Insurance.
How long have you done that work?
About two years.
Did you go to school?
I went to school for cosmetology.
What about high school? Did you graduate?
Yes, ma'am, I graduated.
What school did you graduate from?
Loganville High School.
Okay. And do you know Mr. Miles Bryant?
Yes.
When did you first meet him?
5th grade, Hambrook Elementary School.
Pembroke Elementary School?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that here in Gwinnett County?
Yes. Or no, yes, I think. I don't know.
It's okay. You said in 5th grade. Were you guys friends in 5th grade?
Yes, the best of friends.
The best of friends, okay. And friends that went to each other's houses?
No.
Or just friends in school?
Just friends in school.
Okay. How long were you guys friends from 5th grade to what grade?
11th grade.
So from all the way through middle school and then most of high school?
Yes.
And in 11th grade, what school were you in then?
11th grade, I transferred to Loganville High School from Berkmar High School.
Okay, so you did your freshman and sophomore years at Berkmar High School?
Yes, ma'am.
And was Mr. Bryant at Berkmar as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you guys in the same grade?
We were.
And you were still friends in high school?
Yes.
What happened when you transferred to Loganville? Were you still friends?
Barely. I barely talked to him.
Okay. When you say barely talked to him, how often do you think you talked to him after you left and went to Loganville?
If he reached out, but I wouldn't make initial contact with him.
What about after you graduated from Loganville High School? Were you talking to him then?
No.
And at some point, actually, did you talk to him, you think, during your senior year of high school?
If he would have reached out, but I didn't reach out to him, no.
Okay. And did you guys ever hang out after you moved?
No.
And at some point after you graduated and moved on to Loganville, did you hear from Mr. Bryant again?
Yes, after graduating in 2019, he reached out to me.
Okay. And I know you said you were the best of friends. Did you all ever date?
No, he liked me in 5th grade. We never dated. He dated my best friend, Kishana.
You dated your best friend, Kishana? Yes. What's Kishana's last name?
Phillips.
And was Kishana Phillips, did she go to Berkmar with you all too?
Yes, until she moved to Archer.
Okay. Do you know what grades Mr. Bryant dated Kishana?
I believe it was freshman year, and they probably were still dating up until senior year.
Okay. But you never hung out with Mr. Bryant outside of school?
Not unless Kishana was there. We did a movie double date. To the movies, I brought my own date, he brought her, and we all hung out, and after I went back to her house.
Okay. Back in September of 2022, do you remember reconnecting with Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
And in September of 2022, what were you doing with your life? Were you in school or working?
22, I was working 4 jobs.
4 jobs?
Yes.
Okay, tell us what jobs were you working then?
I worked at Taco Bell as a manager. I worked at Waffle House as a server. I worked at Publix as a stalker. And in my free time, I worked on Uber Eats. And I did hair, of course.
Of course. I don't know how you had time to do that, but okay. So you're working those 4 jobs, and you said you reconnected with them. Who initiated the contact to reconnect?
Miles reached out to me.
How did he reach out to you?
I believe it was Snapchat or text message. He reached out stating that he wanted to get back with Kishana, and he wanted to talk.
At that point, were you still friends with Kishana? You guys were still in touch?
We talked here and there, not like the best of friends, but we definitely still had each other's back.
And then in September of 2022, when Mr. Bryant reached back out to you, where were you living?
I was staying in Snellville at Annistown, off Annistown Road at Stone Creek on the Green.
Is that an apartment complex?
Yes, ma'am.
And that apartment complex in Snellville, is that here in Gwinnett County?
I think it's Gwinnett.
Okay. And you said he reached back out to you. Did you see him in person?
Yes. When he texted me, he stated that he wanted to talk to me and get advice about them rekindling their relationship. So he pulled up to my apartment complex.
The apartment on Annistown?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. We sat in the car and talked.
Okay. And when you sat in the car and talked, did at some point he come inside your apartment?
Yes, ma'am. It was getting late. I was going to go pick my boyfriend up, and he came inside to talk to me for a little bit before he left. He said he wanted to make sure I made it home safe, made it inside.
Okay. And let's talk about your apartment. Describe your apartment. Was it first floor, second floor, third floor?
My apartment was on the 2nd floor.
Okay. And is it an apartment that had a door that went to the outside, or did you have to go inside a building to get to the door?
Outside.
Okay. And how do you get up to your apartment? Stairs or elevator?
Stairs.
Okay. You said he came into your apartment. How long do you think he was in your apartment?
Maybe an hour, if that. I felt uncomfortable.
Why'd you feel uncomfortable?
He was at my apartment and we were talking. He sat on the couch, but then he asked to use the bathroom. I watch a lot of TV shows, a lot of SUV and Criminal Minds. When he asked to use the bathroom, I opened my room door because it connects. I felt like he was going to go in there. Sure enough, as soon he didn't even use the bathroom, he opened the room door, starts to go in my room, looks around the closet. He was pushing on the walls, making sure it was sturdy.
What do you mean he was pushed on the walls?
Like the frame of the walls, like the door, he was pushing on it to see how strong it was.
Did he tell you that's why he was doing that?
No, he didn't ever say why. He did it on the front door as well.
Okay. And you said he went into your room. Where were you when he went into your room?
I was sitting on the kitchen counter. I was looking at my bank statements. I was a server, so I had like $500 in cash. The person I dated had only a Cash App account, so I asked Miles, could I give him the cash? And he transferred me the funds, which he agreed to.
So what do you mean? You asked him to transfer the funds. Explain why you did that.
Because I was a server. I didn't feel like running back out late to an ATM to deposit the money so that I could pay my rent. So I gave him cash and had him send me the funds, and then he left.
Okay, so he did that for you.
Said yes.
Sorry, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when he went into your bedroom, did you say anything to him?
Yes, I asked him what he was doing and why he was in there, and he was like, I'm just looking. It was weird.
Did you ask him to leave?
Yes, after he did that, I grabbed a knife and I had it like underneath my leg while he was in the house, just because I know he has that background. So if anything were to happen, I needed to be able to protect myself in the situation.
What background did you know he had?
I've been friends with him, like I said, since 5th grade. I knew that he took JROTC. He's been on plenty of trips and stuff like that with them. Then I knew that he had a military background and he's a cop.
After you hung out that time in September 2022, did you hear from him again?
Yes, he reached out multiple occasions. He kept calling me. He kept texting me, asking me to link. He asked me on an occasion about moonshine.
Okay. One moment.
And more from the former friend who gets emotional up next.
On the next episode of Accomplice to Murder.
This was a multi-generational family plan to eliminate the patriarch.
Buried beneath a tomato patch.
There were 5 people charged with the murder of 1 person.
He was abusive.
He said, I swore since I was 6 years old that I'd kill that man.
Accomplice to Murder with Vinnie Politan. All new episode, Sunday night, 8, 7 Central.
Only on Court TV.
Back now to the Taken teen murder trial. A former friend of the defendant, Miles Bryant, is on the stand, being questioned by the state. Let's go back in.
Are those text messages from your phone?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that a true and accurate copy of screenshots of text from your phone between you and the defendant that you took?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this time it's under States 56.
No objection.
Okay, States 56 is submitted without objection.
Permission to publish States 56, Your Honor?
Ma'am, you have a computer right here. It's going to come up, and there's one back there. So, but you can, either one is, I mean, if there's water right here, if you'd like some water.
Thank you. Yes. And if you could zoom in so she can read the text messages. And this is your phone, correct, Ms. Bates?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what is the date on the first message?
September 12th of 2022.
Okay, and the blue, is that you or Mr. Bryant?
That's me.
Okay. Can you read the messages, starting with the date and what the messages say?
September 12th of 2022 is question mark. Miles responds, "This Miles, my bad. I was seeing such because I was out. You working?" which is on September 13th of 2022 at 1:34 p.m. I responded September 13th at 9:22 p.m. Need to, but no, I couldn't. And he said, "I'm gonna pull up on you tomorrow if that looks." I said, "No, I'll let you know." He said, "Okay." I never responded. He texted me again September 19th, 2022, 11:58. "You up?" The next day I responded at 7:33 a.m. "Am now, you good?"
Okay. Could continue to the next page. And what is the date of the first message?
September 20th.
Okay, that's the one you just read. And what's the next one from Mr.
September 20th at 4:24. He texted me and said, "Hey, are you free?" I never responded. He texted again September 20th at 6 p.m. "I have that software downloaded. Let me know what's up."
Do you know what software he was talking about?
He wanted me to let him get my ex's phone so that he could see if my ex was talking to other people. And I said that I didn't need to do all that. Like, who does that? Like, I would just leave if it's that serious.
Okay, so you didn't ask him for any software?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you can keep reading. What is the next one back in October?
October 15th at 8:05, link. I said, like, hang out, link. People typically say link as, like, sexual. It's not, like, just to hang out, so.
Okay. What did you respond?
I said I'm still on finishing an order. He said, "Bet, I'm finna be on that side. Let me know. I got this moonshine I want you to try." LMAFAO, sorry.
Okay.
He said, "Not, it's good. It's banana pudding, trust me."
Okay.
December 10th at 11:40.
Next one, thank you.
He said, "Hey, just called to check on you. Good?"
Okay. And was that the last message that you received?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if we could scroll to the top.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
No, that's okay. You're fine.
Up top, what do you have Mr. Bryant saved in as your phone?
Miles the stalker with an axe and a hole.
Did you put that in there?
I sure did.
Why'd you put that in there?
Because he's stalking me and he's a weirdo.
Okay. We saw all those messages, him asking to hang out. After September 20th, the first day that you guys met up at your apartment, did you ever initiate any contact to hang out with him?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever go out with him? Or
Never called him, text him, none of that.
Thank you to Dante Pride for joining us today. Tommy Pope will be sticking around, and Michael Ayala joins me next for more testimony out of Georgia. Plus, the FBI releases files on admitted killer Brian Laundrie. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ashley Wilcott.
And I'm Michael Ayala. We're both here today giving you your front row seat to justice. We are in Georgia this afternoon for the taken teen murder trial.
16-year-old Susana Morales was last seen walking home from a friend's house on July 26th of 2022, but her phone would later reveal that she suddenly started going in the opposite direction at 40 miles per hour.
Prosecutors believe that when defendant Miles Bryant kidnapped her in his car, eventually murdering her and dumping her body about 20 miles away. But the defense promises Bryant will reveal the truth when he takes the stand.
Let's get you back inside that courtroom. We are hearing still from a former friend of Bryant. She's on direct examination. She does start to get emotional. Let's go back in.
All right, Ms. Bates, before we took a break, we were talking about those text messages that we saw in your phone, states 56, and you stated that you had labeled Mr. Bryant's in your phone as Miles the stalker. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And why did you label him that?
Because he was being very weird, his behavior. It was stalker vibes, and he was stalking me. He showed up to my house unannounced on numerous occasions.
Okay. Your apartment, you said, was on the second floor. Did any of your neighbors have video cameras that faced your door?
Yes, ma'am. The neighbor across the hall had a Ring camera set up.
Okay. it's been marked as States 57. If you could take a moment and look at that photograph. Is that a true and accurate copy of a photo from the Ring doorbell of your door at your apartment on Annistown Road?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, this time it's under States 57.
No objection.
States 57 is admitted without objection.
Permission to publish States 57.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, Your Honor.
It's okay. There's always a technological problem, always. Can't go to trial without it.
And we're showing States 57. Is this your door?
Yes, ma'am.
And if we can zoom in on the door. And where did you get this picture from?
My neighbor across the hall.
Okay. And this is, tell us, so we saw the stairs. This is how you get up to your apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
The door that we're looking at, explain how the door handle works.
You have to turn the knob to get in. So regularly it's just going to be up like it is in the picture.
Okay, so you have to push it down and turn it down to get into the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the hallway, you're saying the door that has the Ring camera, that's directly across from your door?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm showing what's been marked as 57.1. Do you recognize that photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a true and accurate copy of another photograph from your neighbor's Ring doorbell of your door at your Annistown Road apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, this time it's under States 57.1.
No objection.
States 57.1 is admitted without objection.
Permission to publish 57.1.
Yes, ma'am.
And tell us what we're looking at here, Ms. Bates.
Miles Bryant trespassing because he was not invited this day that he came.
And what is the date that this is marked on the...
October 15th of 2022
At what time?
at 6:53 p.m.
And that's Mr. Bryant there on the camera?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you invite him to visit you that day?
No, ma'am.
Did you know he was at your house that day?
No, ma'am.
Do you know if you were home that day?
I don't believe I was. I believe I was at work.
Okay. And again, you got this from your neighbor?
Yes, ma'am.
Were there any other times besides this day that Mr. Bryant came to your house uninvited?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what month that those occurred?
I believe in December and I think November.
And the videos, did you get videos of the Ring doorbell capturing Mr. Bryant at your home?
Yes, ma'am.
From your neighbor?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had an opportunity to watch those videos?
I have.
I'm showing you a disc that's been marked as States 11. If you could take a moment and look at that disc. Is that your initials on there?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Did you initial that after watching those videos?
I did.
And the videos that are contained on that disc, are those true and accurate copies of the Ring doorbell videos from your neighbor of your door of your Annistown apartment in 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
You're on this time it's under States 11.
No objection.
States 11 is submitted without objection.
And Your Honor, there are two videos on States 11. Permission to publish those videos on States 11?
Yes.
And I know it's kind of hard to see. Do you see, can you read the, Ms. Bates, can you read the date on the bottom of this one?
December 10th of 2022.
And what time was this?
1921 hours.
If we could play the video? Ms. Bates, was that your apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize the man that was trying to get on your door?
I do.
Who was that?
Miles Bryant.
And if we could just go back to like the end of it and pause. There, we see your door handle. How is your door handle in this video?
Push down.
Is that how the regular position is if no one was trying to get into it?
No, ma'am.
And this was on December 10th. Again, were you home?
No, ma'am.
Did you invite Mr. Bryant to your home that day?
No, ma'am.
Do you know where you were that day?
Working. I had just gotten off when my neighbor showed me the video.
Okay. And Your Honor, we're going to play the second video on States 11. Permission to publish that?
Certainly.
Thank you. Ms. Bates, can you see the date and time for it here?
Yes, ma'am. It is December 11th, 2022, 1741.
And were you home that day on December 11th at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
You were home?
Yes.
Had you invited Mr. Bryant?
No, ma'am.
Did you answer the door that day when he came?
I did not.
How did you know who was at the door?
Because he was stalking me. I posted something to set him up to come to my apartment.
Okay, let's talk about that. What do you mean you posted something?
My neighbor showed me previously that Miles kept coming to my apartment.
Was that the video that we just watched of him trying to
open the door? Yes, ma'am.
So after you saw that video, what did you do?
I purchased the gun. My boyfriend had a gun already at the moment. I posted a bunch of videos and pictures looking cute on Snapchat, flooded and said I was going back home, which is Missouri.
So you posted that you were going to Missouri. Was Mr. Bryant friends with you on social media that he would be able to see those posts saying you were going to Missouri?
Yes, ma'am. He was the first one to watch all 10 videos I posted within the first couple seconds.
How do you know he watched all those videos?
Snapchat tells you who views.
Okay. So after you posted the videos, what happened?
After I posted the videos, I waited. My ex-boyfriend at the moment, he pulled the TV closer so he could be in the door frame of my bedroom. I laid in the bathroom on the floor. I was just laying there. I didn't think that he'd be able to hear it through with the TV on. So maybe like an hour later, we hear knocking. He didn't hear it. I heard it at first, and I knew it was Miles.
Sorry?
My ex at the time.
Okay, so you were in the bathroom and you heard the knocking.
Mm-hmm, I heard the knocking, so I knew it was Miles. I grabbed my gun and I peeked through the peephole. I cocked the gun back, and he had his pointed at the door as well. I thought the whole thing through. I didn't want to just murder somebody like that, so I called the cops as well, so it'd all be documented.
And you said that you heard the gun cock. Was that your gun? Your cock?
My gun cocked back, yes, ma'am.
And how were you able to see Mr. Bryant?
I could see through the peephole that it was him.
And what did you see when you looked through the peephole?
At first, he was just standing there. He started knocking on the door, and then as I backed away, he started kicking on it harder. I moved to the living room of the house, and I started calling 911 at a distance so he wouldn't hear the phone call.
And when you looked through the door, the peephole, was he wearing this gray hoodie that we see here in the video, States 11?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said you called the police?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how many times you called the police?
I probably have called them a total of 3 or 4.
That day on December 10th and 11th, do you know how many times you called that weekend?
No, but I was determined to figure out where Miles worked because I knew that he was a cop, so I did research on Facebook and found his Doraville sheriff's ID badge or whatever, and then I started calling around, and then I was able to find out that he was a Doraville cop, and I made the complaint to his supervisor who told me that Miles stayed at
Ms. Bates, I need you to not say anything that anyone else says, just what you know from your own knowledge, so not what other people tell you, okay? So you called Doraville Police and complained?
I called Doraville Police and complained about the defendant.
And you also called Gwinnett County 911, correct?
I did.
Coming up next, those 911 calls are played in court.
And newly released FBI files reveal chilling details about the investigation into the murder of Gabby Petito by her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. All that and more coming up next, right after the break. Keep it here on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, an in-depth look at the prosecution's case in the Karen Reed trial. We're breaking down key evidence as our experts weigh in.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
How are 5 people charged with the murder of one person?
He said, I swore since I was 6 years old that I'd kill that man.
Accomplice to Murder with Vinny Politan. All new episode, Sunday night, 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Back to Georgia now for the Taken teen murder trial.
Defendant Miles Bryant is accused of kidnapping and murdering 16-year-old Susana Morales back in 2022.
Prosecutors say Bryant, who was a police officer at the time, lived in the apartment complex when Morales was last seen, and that a gun registered to his name was found near her body, which was discovered about 7 months later.
Of course, we want to get you back in that courtroom now. A former friend of Bryant's is testifying about an incident where Bryant showed up at her apartment uninvited. She made 911 calls. We're going to hear those as well.
Calls you made to Gwinnett County Police.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm showing you the first disc, which is marked States 30. If you could take a moment and do you recognize States 30, that disc?
Yes, ma'am. It's initialed.
Is that your initials?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you listened to that 911 call, was that a true and accurate recording of a 911 call you made back in December of 2022 to Gwinnett County Police in reference to Mr. Bryant being at your door?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, this time I tender States 30.
No objection.
Okay, States 30 is admitted without objection.
Permission to publish States 30, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
004924 seconds.
911, what is the location of your emergency? Gwinnett County 911, what is the location of your emergency?
It's 3974 Annestown Road.
This is a house, a business, or an apartment?
Apartment, address is 205.
Okay, and this is Stone Creek on the Green?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what's your phone number in case we get disconnected?
7406.
What's going on?
Somebody tried to break into my apartment not too long ago. I was just returned home. My neighbor, she was coming home too, and she let me know somebody's trying to break in. But I know who it is. And he was in my military. He still works for the cops.
Okay, so when you say he was trying to break in, what exactly did he do? Did he kick the door? What did he do?
He was trying to get inside. He was pulling on the doorknob. He covered his face up. Wouldn't look at the ring camera. None of that.
Okay, and so how long ago was this?
This was tonight. But when he broke into my apartment...
10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, like time lapse. How long ago?
Like 7 something.
7 p.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so, and you know this person? What kind of relationship do you have with this person?
We went to high school. We went to high school together, like years ago. His name was Miles Bryant.
Okay, and so what's your name?
ELASHA Bates.
And you're able to pull the video footage up, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I can forward it to you now if you'd like.
Well, I'm going to send an officer out there to you, so there's no need for that. And then just to make sure that I have the address correct, give it to me one more time.
3974 Annestown Road, apartment 205, Snellville, Georgia 30039.
Okay, and we'll have them out there to you as soon as possible, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye.
Ms. Bates, I'm showing you a copy. Do you recognize that disc also?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your initials on the disc?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And when you listened to States 59, was that a true or an accurate recording of a second 911 call you made to Gwinnett County Police in reference to Mr. Bryant attempting to break into your apartment in December of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, this time I tender States 59. No objection.
States 59 is admitted without objection.
Permission to publish States 59, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
17, 42, 54, second.
Gwinnett 911, what's the location of your emergency? 3974. Repeat it. Okay, repeat the address for me.
3974 in Way, apartment 205.
Okay, do you know this person?
Yes. No.
Who is it?
Miles Bryant.
Miles Bryant?
Yes.
Who is he to you?
He's a friend from school. Like years ago, I graduated in 2019. And then probably about 2017. Talked to him maybe last year and tried to break down, but I wasn't home. But
how do you know it's him?
My neighbor caught it on camera yesterday, and I knew it was.
Okay, what is he, when you say he's breaking in?
He's at my door trying to get in.
So is he like jiggling the door? Is he kicking it?
Yes, and pushing up against it.
Okay. Were y'all in a relationship?
No, never. He dated my best friend.
Have you seen any weapons?
No.
Why would he be trying to get into your house?
I don't know.
I mean, he wouldn't just randomly come to your house. Have y'all been in an argument?
No, never, ever. Can you help me?
That's what I'm doing, but I need you to stay on the phone with me.
No, we're never in a relationship.
Okay, so why would he be at your house? Is your friend there?
No, I don't know.
Okay, is he white, black, Hispanic, Asian, Indian?
Black.
Do you know what he's wearing?
No, but in the video yesterday, he had on a gray hoodie. He's in his car. It's in front of my neighborhood. It's a black Ford. It looks like a F-150 pickup truck.
So he was there yesterday trying to get in as well?
Yes.
Do you have any weapons?
Yes, I have a pistol.
Are you in possession of the pistol?
Yes. And my boyfriend's here as well. And he has a firearm as well.
Is he in the house with you?
Yes.
Like your boyfriend's right beside you?
He's watching the door. I'm watching outside the window to do his car. He's trying to leave now. Yeah, he's leaving now.
Okay, what is your name?
ELASHA date. He's leaving. I'm trying to get the license plate. Hold on. I can't see today. He's going to the gate. Are the cops closed?
No, ma'am, they are not.
He's
towards the gate?
Yeah, he's going to the gate now.
Okay, what's your phone number?
7406.
Okay. Is he leaving for sure?
Yes, he's leaving.
Okay.
And there's a cop behind him. And he's behind him.
Who's behind him?
There was a black, like a silver Nissan behind him.
Okay. Okay, we'll send somebody out there since y'all seem to be having a problem with him. And they will come out and meet with you. I need you to go ahead and put the weapons away, though, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
But are there going to be like can you get arrested tonight? Are they going to be able to do that? Because
I don't know, ma'am. I don't know, ma'am. Obviously something's going on that you're not telling me. I don't know why that...
No, ma'am, there's nothing going on that I'm not telling you. He was dating my friend from like years ago when we were all kids. I've known him since 5th grade. He dated her. They broke up in high school. I hadn't talked to him since. He wanted to talk to me about possibly getting back together with her. I knew that she still had somewhat feelings and that he still liked her, so we talked. He came to my house, we had pizza, we talked about her, and I sent him home. He tried to stay to sleep. I said no, and I sent him home.
When was that?
I kind of wake up. When was my apartment broken into today? Last year, maybe December something? December, November, something like that.
Okay. We will get an officer out to meet with y'all. If you will, like I said, go ahead and put those weapons up for me, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. If he comes back, give us a call back.
And Ms. Bates, did you end up speaking to law enforcement?
I don't think they sent a unit. They called my phone, but nobody ever came.
We heard on the 911 call that you mentioned your apartment had been broken in the year prior. Did you know who broke into your house? Did you have that time?
I didn't know. I had an assumption because I received a bunch of phone calls and text messages from Miles.
Okay, but you didn't know who, you weren't there to see who broke into your apartment, right?
No, ma'am, I was working.
Okay, tell me what type of damage was on your apartment the first time it was broken into, you said.
The first time it was broken into, they kicked the door off the hinges. There were screws loose and everything. It was just gone.
Okay. And this was the 911 call we just heard was from December 11th of 2022. Had you invited Mr. Bryant to your home that day?
No, ma'am.
The next day, on December 12th of 2022, did you see Mr. Bryant again at your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us what happened that day.
Like I said, I set him up to come. I posted stuff on Snapchat and posted a bunch of stuff saying that I was going to leave town, which I figured if he's stalking me and he wants to get rid of me or do anything to me, he would try to abduct me before I left.
And did you see Mr. Bryant standing by, or his truck, by the dumpster or trash area of your apartment?
Yes, ma'am. I was leaving. I was walking to my car. I just felt funny, I felt like somebody was watching me, and I looked.
May we approach, please?
Yes.
Judge, before we bring in our guest, I just want to check with you because I can feel this young lady's pain, for sure, the fear. You can feel that as well. And then that 911 call, that was no help.
It was horrible. No, I'm traumatized for Miss Bates as a victim because I do think it was not appropriately handled. It made her feel like she'd done something wrong. The police never came. I think she's lucky nothing more happened to her.
Absolutely. All right, let's bring back in former prosecutor Tommy Pope. Tommy, this event happened in December of 2022. Susana went missing in July of 2022. This doesn't quite follow the pattern that they're suggesting happened with the victim. How are they getting this in?
So under Georgia law, I've been doing my homework during the break, but under Georgia law, it's prior bad act evidence, and each state has a different way they proceed, and the judge gave a curative instruction early. What you can't use it for is to show his character, and then that he must have committed this crime because he's a bad character. But you can show it for motive, common scheme and plan, intent, opportunity, a number of other things. But there's so much to unpack here. I want to say this young lady, if you contrast her with the testimony of the girlfriend earlier who clearly did not want to be here, this young lady, I'm very impressed with her. She talked about that she was interested in CSI, and she's doing all the right things. She's very intelligent in the way she handles things. She wants to be there. She wants to see justice done, but underline it, as you said with the 911 call, but for the grace of God, this could have been about her being a victim. And I respect the strength she shows from that witness stand.
Absolutely, and she had a weapon, so he could have been a victim because he's trying to break into her home. Tommy, let me ask you again, though, about how, I know this is very impactful for me. I'm very bothered by this testimony. The jury is hearing it, and regardless of what the judge says about what you can and can't consider, this has got to give them a very negative impression of the defendant.
Well, no doubt. And we said, you know, in opening, the defense attorney said, you know, my guy's a cad, my guy's awful, and we thought maybe he was overplaying. But you also figure they had out of court hearings or out of the presence of the jury hearings to determine what was coming in. So, you know, he again may be preempting what was coming, because you tell the jury, you know, like not to use someone not testifying against them. But the jurors are human. As we discussed last hour, I think ultimately, how can you not take this in that this guy's a creep? And so I hate to say it, but the jury then will do exactly what I said the law doesn't allow. He must have acted in conformity there with that character.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, just looking at this alone, a juror would be, you know, fine to believe that this guy's a menace to society.
Yeah,
he belongs
and a creep
anyway.
and horrible.
I mean, you know, it's just awful. All right, Tommy, stand by. We are going to take a break. Folks, when we come back, we'll have more from that courtroom. So keep it here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
We'll get you back into court in just a moment, but first, a newly released FBI file reveals chilling details about the investigation into the murder of Gabby Petito by her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. You may recall that Petito's body was found dumped in a remote camping area in Wyoming back in September of 2021. While she was still missing, Laundrie returned to his parents' home in Florida and refused to discuss Gabby's whereabouts.
Now, after he was named the suspect in Petito's death, police launched an intense manhunt, eventually turning up his body days later dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, afterwards, the FBI searched the Laundrie's family home, and here are some of the stunning things that they found. Drawings that Laundrie did with skulls and the words "kill" and "trust no one" written. In some of his writings, he expressed his desire to kill himself by setting himself on fire.
Now, this was just months before he began dating Petito. There are also pictures of all the weapons he was carrying, including a crossbow and arrows, gun magazines, brass knuckles, and a wad of cash. Our Court TV team is going through hundreds of pages of this newly released file, and we'll bring you updates throughout the evening.
All right, let's get back now to Georgia and the Taken teen murder trial, where ex-cop Miles Bryant faces charges of kidnapping and murder.
On the stand now, a former friend of the defense. She called 911 as he was trying to break into her apartment. Let's go back into court.
About the last time on December 12th, 2022, the day after you had called police, and you said you saw him by your dumpster trash area in your complex.
Yes, ma'am. I saw him. I was walking to my car. I felt like somebody was watching me. It was pretty late, so I was alert. It's pretty dark.
Did you see a vehicle?
I did. I saw a F-150 parked by the dumpsters with a dark-skinned male standing outside with glasses on.
Okay, and what did you do when you saw that F-150 in the mail?
I hurried up and got in my car and locked the doors and called my boyfriend, or my ex-boyfriend.
And did you leave your complex that night then?
I did.
Did you, after then, that was in December of 2022, did you ever initiate any more contact with Mr. Bryant?
No, ma'am.
Did you hear from him any other time?
No, he kept texting me, but I never responded.
And again, since knowing him from 5th grade to today, did you guys ever go on a date?
Never.
Did you ever sleep together?
Never.
Did you ever express any interest in him?
Never.
And Ms. Bates, the person who was attempting to get into your home, do you see him here in the courtroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please point him out to the jury and tell us what he's wearing?
An orange button-up with a gray tie. He took his glasses off and he has on black shoes.
Please let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Your Honor, and I have no other questions for this witness.
Thank you.
I can approach with these excuses.
Certainly. Ms. Drake?
I just have a few questions for you. So I wanted to clarify something. The night or the time when you posted the videos that you were moving to Missouri, did I hear you say that your boyfriend was there with you?
I didn't state that I was moving. I stated that I was going to go out of town, just on a trip. And yes, ma'am, my boyfriend was there at the time.
Okay. So you posted that specifically to lure him to your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you said he continued to text you, so obviously you never blocked him.
No, ma'am, I wanted proof.
Okay. And you were, he was still on your social media accounts and you never blocked him.
I sure didn't, because he was stalking me. So the only way for me to prove the fact that he was going to come to my home, or even let him know that I was at home so he could come, would be for me to leave him on the social media. And I saved messages as well.
Okay. And that text message where he had information, you said it was because something about he had some stuff to see if your boyfriend was cheating on you.
Yeah, he had downloaded some cheating software or whatever to get in the phone.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
No worries.
Ms. Bates, just for clarification, you said you posted those messages to say you were going out of town to try and set him up.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you trying to have law enforcement catch him?
Yes, the whole plan was to post. I knew that he was stalking me, so I posted stuff like I was going to go out of town, knowingly that he would pop back up the next day or whatever. I waited, and like I said, I did not shoot him. I could have shot through the door. He was kicking through my door, like he was kicking hard. But I didn't. I called the cops. I did the right thing.
And Ms. Bates, before you did that, posted that stuff on Snapchat, to use your words, I've set him up. Have you called police and not gotten any help?
Yes, ma'am. I called police and I spoke to his supervisor.
So you had called Doraville Police and Gwinnett County Police before you did that, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And Your Honor, if I could approach to get one more exhibit.
Certainly.
And if we could put states 56 back up. States 56. My apologies, Your Honor.
No problem. I warned everybody at the beginning of the trial, we will have at least one technology problem.
And we're going to show states 57.1 again. That was already admitted into evidence. What is the time, the date and time on this?
October 15th, 6:53 p.m.
Okay, and then we're going to go to states 56 on page 2 of that exhibit for October 15th, the same day. What time on October 15th did you receive that message from Mr. Bryant saying link?
8:05 p.m.
And you said what does link mean?
Like when somebody's trying to link up with you, it's like hanging out. But when you guys say it, it's kind of more sexual, you know, it's something that they're expecting.
So he's asking you to meet up after on 57.1. He's already been at your door?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now, on the ringtone or whatever it is video that shows him knocking on the door, where's the one on him trying to kick in the door?
The video stops. I was home, and it's the 911 call as well.
Okay. Thank you.
I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Nothing else.
And may we release this witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am.
That is the end of that witness, a sympathetic witness. Now we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's a QUCIKTRIP manager who let Bryant borrow her phone, only to have him steal nude photos of her. That's what you heard right. We'll be right back.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, an in-depth look at the prosecution's case in the Karen Reed trial. We're breaking down key evidence as our experts weigh in.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV. Next week.
We're getting you all ready for the major trials. Plus, Friday, our voice for the victims shines a light on the mystery behind the murders at an upscale shopping mall.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Back to court in just a minute, but first, an update in the missing Michigan wife trial.
Defendant Dale Warner was back in court today for a preliminary hearing to determine whether or not his murder case would go to trial.
Warner is charged with open murder and tampering with evidence in connection to his wife, Dee Warner's death. Earlier today, the state presented a revealing text message between Dee and her friend. Take a listen.
12/7/2020 at 10:31 a.m. This message is sent from Dee Warner to Amy Alexander. It reads, "Listen, I tried to leave last night and he called me a and threw me at the dresser."
Okay. 12/7/2020 at 11:34:07. Read that one.
This message is sent from Dee Warner to Amy Alexander. "Yeah, I have a large goose egg on my head and a sore neck, but I'm okay."
Then the next one.
Again sent from Dee Warner to Amy Alexander. "He turned into the devil."
Next page, 12/7/2020 at 11:43 and 31.
At 11:43.
11:43, 31 seconds, yep. Next.
From Dee Warner to Amy Alexander. "He told me that he would not allow me to take Lena."
12/7/2020 at 12:15 and 30.
From Dee Warner to Amy Alexander. "I've never seen him this bad."
Top of the next page.
12/7/2020 at 12:16. "I literally thought he could kill me."
Next page, top.
12/7 at 12:19 p.m. from Dee Warner to Amy Alexander. "He tried to tell me that he tripped. It was not even close to a trip, especially as he was throwing me. He said, 'You're not going anywhere.'"
Now, the judge ultimately ruled that there was enough evidence to go forward with Warner's murder trial. Warner is scheduled to be back in court for another hearing June 20th. And of course, we'll keep you updated on any new developments in that case.
Now let's turn back to Georgia, where we're bringing you the trial of Miles Bryant, the 23-year-old who's facing several charges, including kidnapping and murder in the death of 16-year-old Susana Morales.
Prosecutors described the defendant as a cop-turned-killer who used his badge to satisfy his own sexual desires. Although his defense claims there is more to the story, and he's going to take the stand to tell the folks about it. Let's go back into court right now. On the stand is a QUCIKTRIP manager who says that she let Bryant borrow her phone only to have him steal photos of her, illicit photos of her. She's on direct examination. Let's get back into court.
You state your name
YECENIA.
and your last name.
LAINEZ.
Can you spell both names?
YECENIA. Last name LAINEZ.
Thank you, Ms. LAINEZ. And where do you work, ma'am?
QUCIKTRIP.
And how long have you worked for QUCIKTRIP?
About 7 years.
And is there a specific store that you work at currently?
Yes.
Which store is that?
I currently work at the one off Duluth and Riverside.
Okay. And what is your position with QUCIKTRIP?
I'm an assistant manager.
What does an assistant manager do? Everything?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I would say everything.
So do you work in the register area that all the customers are in?
Yes, for the most part of the shift, I'm on register.
Okay. And do you also supervise employees?
Yes.
And you said you've worked there 7 years?
Yes.
Have you worked at different QUCIKTRIP stores than the one you're at now?
Yes, they constantly move us around.
Okay. And back in the summer of 2022, were you working for QUCIKTRIP then?
Yes.
Were you an assistant manager at that point?
Yes.
How long have you been in a management position?
I would say maybe 3 years now.
Okay. So back in the summer of 2022, which Quick Trip were you at then?
The one off Beaufort Highway.
And what city is that in, do you know?
Dorville.
How long do you think you were at the Dorville store?
I was there for maybe less than 6 months.
Okay. And all of those 6 months were in 2022?
Yes. I think I started there the December of the year before, like the very last week of December.
As an assistant manager in Quick Trip, do you interact with law enforcement ever?
Absolutely.
What do you, just as customers or other occasions?
As customers, they come in regularly, and then we also deal with a lot of crazy situations to where we sometimes have to call for their help.
Okay. And sometimes is that the manager's responsibility or assistant managers to call for assistance for law enforcement?
Yes, it's up to us to make that phone call.
When you worked at the Dorville store back in, I think you said December of 21 into 2022 then, the summer, did you have the opportunity to call Dorville law enforcement?
Yes, when I was working at that store, that was a store where we had a lot of crazy going on. So the Dorville Police Department was right around the corner, so they frequented the store a lot.
Okay. And did officers also come in just to get coffee and snacks and stuff?
Yes, we provide them with free coffee and free drinks, so they stop in regularly.
Okay, so you saw cops a lot?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity to know Mr. Miles Bryant?
Yes.
How did you know him?
He, like all the officers that worked for Dorville Police Department that would frequent the store, he was one that would come by whenever we would call them or would just randomly stop by.
Okay.
All right, so just want to let you know this witness opted out, didn't want her face shown, so that's why you're only seeing her from that angle. Let's bring back in our guest with us, former prosecutor Tommy Pope. Tommy, again, another witness talking about something that's vile, perverted, but the state needs to be careful, do they not?
Yes, you know, there's always the concern. We heard the jury instruction earlier of why this evidence is admissible, and basically it's not admissible, as I said earlier, for his character and to act in conformity therewith. This one disturbs me for a different reason. This is more of abuse of the law enforcement position to gain the trust. You know, if you get to the point you can't trust law enforcement because of things like this, it's very unfortunate. And the fact that he borrows her phone to rob of her photos is, I know we can't use character against him, but it definitely shows a poor character.
Yeah, all of this. I mean, the more you hear, the more you dislike him, which is a problem if the jury's going to convict him because they don't like him. All right, at the end of the day, thank you so much, Tommy Pope, for joining us. We greatly appreciate it.
All right, folks, coming up, more testimony in the Taken teen murder trial. Keep it here on Court TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. Ahead this hour, actor Alec Baldwin is the target of a new civil suit stemming from the shooting death of the cinematographer on the set of his movie Rust. Also, no court today in the killer or cover-up murder trial, but we're going to look ahead to some key motions to be argued on Monday morning, including one addressing the nature of the injuries to victim John O'Keefe. And in Georgia, the mother of the defendant in the Taken teen murder trial is called by the state to testify against her own son. Miles Bryant is a former police officer accused of kidnapping and killing 16-year-old Susana Morales in July of 2022. Now, her body wasn't found until months later. Well, the state called Bryant's mother to the stand today, and the judge granted her request not to be shown on camera, but as one can imagine, she was a bit resistant to helping the state make their case against her son, often replying, "I don't know," or "I don't remember," to several questions about the defendant, including questions about whether he called her on the night that Susana went missing. So let's get back into court right now. On the stand is a manager at the QUCIKTRIP. Quickly, she also has decided not to have her face shown, so a similar shot of her is in that courtroom. So let's go back in.
How many times do you think you saw him in the store?
I would not be able to say how many. It's just...
More than once?
Definitely more than once.
Okay. Besides seeing him at work at QUCIKTRIP, did you ever see him socially outside of your job?
No.
Did you ever date him or have a relationship with him?
No.
Did you ever give him your phone number?
No.
Did you have his phone number other than 911 or the police department?
No.
And were you and Mr. Bryant ever friends on any social media apps?
No.
Did you ever go to his house?
No.
Did you ever call Doraville police and specifically ask, hey, send Officer Bryant, ask for him?
No.
So the only time that you knew him was when he came into your store?
Yes. Whenever he would randomly, like I said, either show up on a call or he would just randomly stop by the store.
I'm going to bring your attention back to the day of July 27th, 2022. You were working at that Doraville QUCIKTRIP then?
Yes.
As the assistant manager?
Yes.
Do you remember back in the summer of 2022 what type of cell phone you had?
I believe I had an iPhone 12, I think.
Okay. Is
13. It might have been 13.
Is it the same phone you have now, or
No.
did you get a new phone?
Yeah, I have a new phone now.
Okay, but it was an iPhone.
Yes.
And the phone number that you have now, did you have the same phone number back then?
Yes, I still have the same number.
Okay. Back in, did you ever let Mr. Bryant or Officer Bryant, as you knew him, borrow your phone?
Yes, one time.
One time. Okay. And was that back in July of 2022?
Yes.
And when you let him borrow your phone that day, was he in a police uniform?
Yes.
A Doraville police uniform?
Yes.
Had you called him to the store?
I don't believe I had called him to the store.
Okay. Tell us how he had the opportunity to get your phone.
So he came by to the store, and I was on register at the moment. And he came up to me with saying that his bank app was not working on his phone. And he asked me if I used Chase. And I was like, yes, I use Chase for banking, so I have the app. He said it wasn't working on his phone, so he asked if he could use my phone.
Okay.
I didn't think much of it.
And did you let him use your
Yeah, so I signed out of my bank account, make sure my information wasn't there. And I handed him my phone.
And when you handed him your phone, where were you in the store? Do you remember?
So I was on the check stand.
So on the register?
Yes. That's what we call where the register is, sorry.
And I know it's there's a counter and a little higher. Did
Yes.
Mr. Bryant come back behind the registers with you?
No. So he was standing on the side, on the sideline on the outer. And I was inside behind the register.
Okay. How far do you think he was from you while you're working that register?
Few feet.
Okay. And did you, were you still working while he actually had your phone?
Yes. I want to say when I handed him my phone, I wasn't, but QUCIKTRIP is a job where it's very fast-paced, so I'm sure that I was still ringing up customers and multitasking, so I'm sure I walked away for a few seconds, maybe a couple minutes.
I'm sorry. You say multitasking. Tell us what you're doing. What do you mean?
I'm ringing people up, so I'm on register, helping out customers who may have questions, directing my clerks that work with me.
That store in Doraville, that was a busy store?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you gave him the phone, and could you see what he was doing with the phone while you were ringing up customers?
No.
Do you know about how long he had your phone in his hand?
It couldn't have been longer than a few minutes.
Did he, you said he told you he wanted to check his Chase app?
Yes.
And after he had the phone for a few minutes, did he give it back to you?
Yes.
What happened then?
He just handed it to me.
Okay.
Said thank you.
Did you have on your phone, and I'm sorry to be personal, any videos or photographs that were involved nudity of yourself?
Yes.
Those photos or images, where did you have them stored on your phone?
In my hidden gallery.
In your hidden gallery, tell us how you get to that on a phone.
So back then, this was prior to the current iPhone updates.
Okay.
But at the time, it would be at the very bottom. When you go into your camera roll, it would be at the very bottom. And there would be a
folder or gallery that said hidden.
Okay. And did you, to get into that hidden folder at the time, did you need a Face ID or a fingerprint to get into it?
No, at the time you didn't.
Or password?
No. Like I said, it was a better way to hide anything you didn't want to be in your regular camera gallery, but it didn't need a passcode or finger ID or anything like that.
I'm going to approach and show you what's been marked as 22.1. If you could take a moment and look at this document.
Ms. Petito, 26.1.
22.1?
22.1, I didn't hear you, sorry.
And it's a 3-page document. If you could look at the phone number on the front page.
Where am I looking at that? This one? Oh, yes.
That phone number on there. Could you read that phone number?
404-883-6101.
And is that your phone number that you still have?
Yes.
Is that the phone number you had back in the summer of 2022?
Yes.
And is that, looking at that document, is that a true and accurate copy of some text messages from your phone?
Yes.
All right, this time at tender states 22.1.
Any objection? Okay, that's okay, that's okay. States 22.1 is admitted without objection.
Permission to publish 22.1, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And we see this on the screen. And we're going to go to the...
You have a screen right here. We have it moved, so it will come up back there,
Okay.
but the press is not filming.
And that phone number at the top, we see under participants, is that your phone number?
Yes.
Okay. And the email address under that, what is that email?
Swagged-out1019@gmail.
Do you know what that email, owns that email?
No.
And if we could scroll to the third page of that document, that photograph that we see there, do you recognize that photograph, Ms. LAINEZ?
Yes.
What is that a photograph from?
That is one of my hidden gallery videos.
Thank you. That photograph and that we saw, did you send that to anyone?
No.
I'm showing you what's been marked as dates 22. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
Is that your initials on that?
Yes.
And states 22, I'm sorry. Is that the full video of the little photograph we just saw that was admitted into evidence of 22.1?
Yes.
And was that a true and accurate copy of the video that was saved in your hidden gallery on your phone?
Yes.
Here at this time, it tender states 22.
No objection.
State 22 is admitted without objection.
And Your Honor, permission to publish this?
Yes, ma'am.
And Your Honor would ask the media to remember the court's instructions.
Yes. This video can't be photographed or filmed.
And Ms. LAINEZ, I'm sorry, I know that this is difficult, but was that your black fingernails on the screen?
Yes.
And that video that we just saw, where did you, was that you? Did
Yes.
you record that?
Yes.
And was that on your phone in your hidden gallery?
It was.
Did you send that video or that text, that screenshot to Miles Bryant at any time?
No.
Did you give him permission to go into your phone videos when you had it in your phone?
Absolutely not.
Did you give him permission to text or send any videos or photographs from your phone?
No.
When you gave him your phone momentarily at QUCIKTRIP, did you see him do anything suspicious?
No.
Were you able to see what he was actually doing on your phone?
No.
at some point, did you learn that Mr. Bryant had possession of that video?
I only found out when the detective called me to notify me that they had found my phone number in his phone after they had confiscated it. Prior to that, no, there was no record on my phone that would have shown those messages going from my phone to his.
So when you got the phone back from Mr. Bryant, did you see any outgoing text in your text log?
No.
Did you see any outgoing emails to this swagged-out@gmail?
No.
On your phone? And did you have any record on your phone prior to the detective calling you that this video of yours had been sent to Mr. Bryant?
No.
One moment. Do you remember, Ms. LAINEZ, what time he had come in the store?
I don't remember.
And Your Honor, if we could republish 22.1, that's been signed. And I'm going to hand you that. Are you able to see a date and time on there?
Yes.
What is the date and time?
It's July 27th, 2022 at 10:16 p.m.
And that is, it says UTC. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I know you guys explained it to me. I don't remember. No, I don't.
Okay. And did you give him permission to send anything to you?
No.
And did you, why did you hand him your phone to let him use it for a minute?
I honestly didn't think much of it. He asked for a favor. You know, you don't think somebody's gonna go to your hidden gallery and send themselves something like that when you hand them your phone for a few minutes.
Is that because he was in a police uniform also?
Yes.
Is that because you knew he worked for Norfolk Police and had come to your store before as a criminal?
Yes.
And the man who did that, do you see him here in the courtroom?
Yes.
Can you please point him out to the jury? And just tell us what he's wearing?
He's wearing a peach-colored shirt and tie.
Your Honor, please let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant. That's all the questions I have.
Ms. Drake? I don't have any questions, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, we do need to hit that pause button now for this update in the Doomsday Prophet murder trial. We now have a new mugshot of convicted murderer Chad Daybell. The so-called Doomsday Prophet was sentenced to death just 2 days after a jury found him guilty on all charges, including the murders of his first wife and the 2 children of his current wife. Now, Daybell's attorneys have already filed an appeal asking the Idaho Supreme Court to examine the verdict and his death sentence. All right, we do need to take that break now. When we come back, the medical examiner will be on the stand. What was the cause of death? We'll find out. Keep it here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, an in-depth look at the prosecution's case in the Karen Reed trial. We're breaking down key evidence as our experts weigh in.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
How are 5 people charged with the murder of 1 person?
He said, I swore since I was 6 years old that I'd kill that man.
Accomplice to Murder with Vinnie Politan. All new episode, Sunday night, 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
We'll get you back to court in just a moment, but first, a newly released FBI file reveals chilling details about the investigation into the murder of Gabby Petito by her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. Now, you'll recall Petito's body was found dumped in a remote camping area in Wyoming back in September of 2021. Now, while she was still missing, Laundrie returned to his parents' home in Florida and refused to discuss Gabby's whereabouts. Now, after he was named a suspect in Petito's death, police launched an intense manhunt, turning up his body days later dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot. Now, afterwards, the FBI searched the Laundrie's family home And here are some of the stunning things that they found. Drawings that Laundrie did with skulls and the words kill and trust no one. In some of his writings, he expressed his desire to kill others and set himself on fire. Now, this was just months before he began dating Petito. There are also pictures of all the weapons he was carrying, including a crossbow and arrows, a hollowed-out book containing a handgun, brass knuckles, and a wad of cash. Now, our Court TV team is actually going through hundreds of pages at this hour of this newly released file, and we're going to bring you more coming up in the next hour. All right, we do want to now get back to court in the Taken teen murder trial in Georgia. The medical examiner is on the stand, so let's get back into that courtroom.
First of all, and I wasn't sure what we were talking about here, if you were talking about deaths in general or if you're limiting it to skeletal remains. But initially, when we're dealing with skeletal remains, first of all, I do an inventory of the body. What do I have? What am I missing? What is associated with the remains? Do I just have bones? Do I have personal effects? One of the things that's going to be most important when we're trying to evaluate skeletal remains is, who is this person? Because as we've indicated, I have a fraction of the body. So to determine a cause of death is going to be more challenging, and it's really going to be helpful to know who this person is, because then you can evaluate the circumstances more. And as a medical examiner, I don't just conduct autopsies in a vacuum. Circumstances or what's at the scene is very important, and certainly with skeletal remains, that's the case as well, because you've got a whole different situation if the deceased is an elderly person who's known to be demented and will wander away from home versus someone who is not known to have any kind of mental illness or mental challenges and who winds up in a place that's radically different from an environment that they typically inhabit and has, no other medical conditions that anybody's aware of.
All right. Now, to get to specifics, did you respond to a human remains scene off of Highway 316 in Decula, Georgia, back on February 6th of 2023?
Yes, I did.
At that time, were you acting as the chief medical examiner for Gwinnett County?
Yes, I was.
All right, and describe for the jury when you got there what you found.
Okay. Well, when we got there, I was with three other employees, and we walked into this wooded area off of 316, and it was, I'd say, well back into the woods, several hundred feet into the woods. The main body or mass of the remains, the majority of the skeletal remains were in one spot, but there were some bones that were scattered, and in my estimation, up to about 100 feet away from the main mass of the remains. And the bones that were scattered away from the main body tended to be the leg bones and bone of the hip. But where the skull, the ribs, and the bones of the spine were located in that area were also bones from the arms. And in that area, some pine straw, dirt, and other kind of small tree trunks and stuff had kind of amassed on top of these remains. So it involved digging into the top layer of the ground cover a little bit. There were leaves there as well. And at this point in time, it was dark. I know from referring to the record that I pronounced the deceased dead at 8 p.m. that night. So it was dark. People were there with flashlights, and we're trying to recover as much of the body as we can at that point in time.
Obviously, I think you and the investigators that were on scene ultimately made a call to secure it, come back, and continue a search the next day?
That is correct. And the next day, there were other employees from my office who went back to search. I did not return the second day, but I did have other employees who did.
On the first night when you were there, did you take efforts at that time to try and get some kind of idea about maybe the age or gender of the person whose remains were recovered?
Yes.
And how did you attempt to do that?
Okay, well, one of the best ways to ascertain gender or sex of skeletal remains is to look at the bones of the pelvis. And so in looking at the bones of the pelvis, the pubic angle where the bones come together in the front was very broad. That's indicative of a female sex. Males, the angle tends to be very narrow. It tends to have sort of a V shape, but with females it tends to be very broad. So in looking at the pelvis, I knew we were dealing with a female. Also in looking at the skull, something that you can look at is like the brow and to see how developed it is. And in this case, the brow was not very prominent. Also the mastoid processes, the bones kind of back behind the ears, again, not very pronounced. With men, they tend to be more robust. So I was confident I was dealing with a female individual. And one of the things too, in looking at the bones, was I was able to see that some of the growth plates were not fused. And so where as people get older and grow and the bones elongate, that will happen as long as the growth plate isn't fused. And in this case, I could see in some of the bones where that had not occurred. So I knew we were dealing with someone young. Also at the same time, and by young I mean probably teenaged, and one of the things that I had remembered from a skeletal remains analysis type class I had attended years ago was that the last bone to completely fuse is the collarbone or the clavicle. And in seeing the clavicle there, I realized that was not fused. So I knew.
All right, let me bring in my guest for this hour. Joining us is criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Franz Borgart for our Fridays with Franz. Franz, great to see you. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us on this Friday. I want to point out, we're listening to testimony from the medical examiner. Eventually, she'll get to what her opinion is as to cause of death. But at the end of the day, it becomes important. They weren't able to determine the cause of death because of the skeletal remains. There weren't any gunshot wounds or any blunt force trauma noticed on the skeleton. But he is charged with malice murder in Georgia, which doesn't mean premeditation. It requires intent. So does that create a problem for the state where you have an unknown manner of death and you're charging someone with intentional murder?
Well, the problem is it's hard to exclude reasonable doubt as to method of death if you don't know why there was a death, right? We've got a lot of good circumstantial evidence linking him to the location, but it's just, this is just a weird one, Michael, and I don't know if they're just going to lean on the circumstantial evidence and hope that the jury connects the dots. But sometimes they do that. Sometimes juries, that's all they need is just good circumstantial evidence that links someone to something that shouldn't be linked. And then it kind of creates a weird, reverse burden of proof where now the defense has to explain why it was that he was near this. So difficult, sure. Impossible, not likely. And look, the circumstantial evidence is mounting up.
They've also charged him with attempted rape, and they're basically basing that on who they've known him to be. Some of this evidence has been coming in front of the jury, but also because the skeleton was found with no clothes around. Now remember, this is 6-7 months later. There's a lot of things that could have happened to these clothes, but at the end of the day, what do you make of that and the difficulty of proving that rape or attempted rape and really basing it on the fact that there were no clothes found near or at the skeleton?
If it were just no clothes to the skeleton, I think the defense would have a lot of wiggle room to play with, right? But what we're dealing with is other acts, other crimes, things we know about this individual combined with the absence of clothes. How do you prove rape? Simply the absence of clothes? I don't know that that's enough, Michael. But again, it's not in a vacuum, right? So if the jury thinks, well, look, you're telling us all this stuff about this accused individual, we can connect those dots. Maybe that will be a substitute to direct evidence. But I think that that's a difficult issue for the state, proving that there's a rape simply because of the absence of clothes.
Yeah, and I agree. And as you said, it gives the defense wiggle room. You know this defendant's going to take the stand. He's going to have his own story to try to get out from under those charges, and that maybe using that wiggle room that you're talking about. All right, Franz, stand by. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the medical examiners continue testifying about recovering the victim's remains and going through the process of identifying her, and again, getting eventually to what they believe was the cause of death. Again, they couldn't pinpoint it. Keep it here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. We are continuing our coverage in the taken teen murder trial in Georgia. The medical examiner is still on the stand now. Now, she's been testifying about recovering the remains of victim Susana Morales and trying to find a cause of death. Let's get you back into court.
And in seeing the skull, there were features that looked to be blended between kind of black and white ethnicities, and that's something that's commonly seen in a Hispanic individual. But while I'm looking at these things and making these observations, I also had one of my co-workers contacting our forensic anthropology consultant who's in Arizona, and they were texting back and forth. I don't think they were actually talking and texting, and some of the things I was saying, she was texting right back, and so confirming what I was seeing, that we were dealing with a young female who was probably Hispanic.
Your Honor, now, first witness, Terry, I'm going to show you. I've got some photographs here. I've marked them as State's Exhibit 26.1 through 26.13. Would you mind taking a look at these and letting me know if you recognize them?
Okay. Yes, I do recognize them.
And what are they pictures of?
These are photographs that were taken in conjunction with my examination of the remains of the individual, excuse me, identified as Susana Morales.
Are those fair and accurate depictions of what you just described?
Yes, they are. Some of the photographs are taken in the morgue, and others are taken from the scene the night that I was there during the recovery of the remains.
And Your Honor, at this time I'd move to admit State's Exhibits 26.1 through 26.13.
Okay. State's Exhibit 26.1 through 26.13 are admitted without objection. Eddie, would you mind giving Dr. Terry a bottle of water out of my office?
Oh, well, thank you.
When, before you, I guess once you started the autopsy and started looking at the remains later on how did you determine that you were going to try and make a positive identification of the individual?
Okay, well, one of the things that I'm looking at to try to identify this individual is I'm looking to see if there are any distinctive skeletal abnormalities, anything that looks like a prior broken bone, anything that looks like surgical or orthopedic hardware. Also, I have x-rays that are taken to see if there's anything associated with the bones. But the most striking thing and most evident thing in this case is looking at the dental features of this individual, and she had some dental work, and that wound up being the most identifying features about her.
All right. And Judge, I'm going to move to the State's Exhibit number 8, which are the dental records for Susana Morales from Happy Smiles Dentistry. They are being submitted pursuant to a business record certification from Happy Smiles that is contained in State's Exhibit 8.1, and also State's Exhibit 9, which are dental records from Vital Smiles which are also being submitted via business record certification labeled as State's Exhibit 9.1.
Okay, State's Exhibit 8, 8.1, 9, and 9.1 are admitted without objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Terry, I'll leave these up here for you if you need it, right here. Generally, if you're making dental comparisons, you mentioned in this case there's dental work that was done. So describe to the jury, I guess, how that's helpful.
Okay. Thank you so much. Well, Susana Morales had 3 teeth that had fillings in them. And these types of fillings are referred to as amalgam fillings. So when you think about the silver-looking fillings, I mean, these days a lot of people have kind of the cream-colored composite restorations that look like tooth material that are harder to see, but those of us who are a little bit older have those amalgam fillings. That's what she had. And as I said, they involved 3 teeth, and 2 of these teeth had 2 separate areas that had 2 fillings in them each. So, I mean, these were very distinctive features. Also, in looking at her teeth, or the teeth of the deceased individual I had, one of her teeth was turned or tilted a bit and overlapped her left upper front tooth. And so it was the tooth next to the left upper front. It's the upper lateral left incisor, tooth number 10. But anyway, it's next to the left upper front, and it was turned and partially overlapped the big front central incisor there on the left.
Your Honor, may I have permission to publish the photographs contained in State's Exhibits 26.1 through 26.13?
Yes.
All right, and if we can go ahead and start with, we'll start with 26.1. Dr. Terry, can you see this image?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And describe for us kind of where this is and what we're looking at.
Okay, this photograph is taken in the morgue, and as I'm going through the different bones, I'm wiping them off, washing them up, cleaning them off, and looking at them. I'm looking at them for anything that's distinctive as well as any evidence of trauma to them, because sometimes the trauma can be somewhat subtle, like knife marks or tool marks that may be on a rib where you have an edge that's just sliced a little bit. So I'm looking at these different bones as I am going through and roughly placing them in an anatomic position. 2, as I'm doing this, I'm looking to make sure that or taking an inventory to try to make sure that I have as much of the skeleton as possible, and making sure I don't have any duplicates of bones that might indicate I've got more than one individual here. But none of.
All right, we'll squeeze in another break now. When we come back, we'll hear more from the medical examiner. So keep it here on Court TV.
Court TV fans, you demanded it. Here we go, do it. So now you're getting more true crime at nighttime.
Oh my God, oh my God.
48 hours on Court TV. Tonight, 7/6 Central on Court TV.
Friday nights, the WNBA is on Ion. This week, the Mystics host the Fever. Bottoms up! Then the Storm will take on the Aces. Coverage starts tonight at 7. Check local listings for games in your area. Ion, it's on.
Welcome back. In the taken teen murder trial in Georgia, the medical examiner is still on the stand. Now, she's testifying now about the victim's cause of death. Take a listen.
As I mentioned earlier, as a medical examiner, we don't conduct examinations in a vacuum. And you've got to consider the circumstances. And then once knowing who this deceased was, young female, no known significant medical conditions, last known to be alive some distance from where these remains were found. Also, in the course of doing the examination at the scene, I didn't find any personal effects. I didn't find any remnants of clothing. So it looks like she's likely nude at the scene. And so many years ago, early in my training, I was told when filling out death certificates, one of the things that's important is to be consistent. And throughout my career, if I don't have demonstrable physical trauma to the remains, I will tend to use the term undetermined, and then will specifically say why. In this case, I called the cause of death undetermined due to decomposition with skeletonization. I believe if I had had the intact body, I could have come up with a specific cause of death, but I'm limited based on what I have. The body is too decomposed. All I have is a skeleton. Because the circumstances, again, young female, this isolated area where it's far removed from where she was last known to be alive, and no personal effects, no clothing. As a medical examiner with 30 years of experience, if I were to see an intact individual at this type of a scene, first thing I'm going to think of is some type of homicidal violence, specifically some type of asphyxial type component, strangulation, suffocation, chest compression, things of that nature. Because if you have a nude individual, nude or partially nude, that better be, as a medical examiner, that better be one of the first things you're thinking about. And so the fact that she doesn't have any skeletal trauma does not exclude that. And again, my cause of death, undetermined due to decomposition with skeletonization, it's not. If I can test this or that, I could come up with a cause of death. There's no getting around the fact that I don't have what I need to have to make to rule out what I think is going on. I'm very suspicious of strangulation, chest compression, suffocation, smothering, something of that nature. And I just do not have the body in a condition where I can prove that or disprove that. And so I've called it undetermined. And as you can tell from listening to me, I'm very verbose about stuff. On the death certificate, I'm limited to what I can put. But in my report, I'm quite explicit about these are my findings, these are my impressions from the get-go. There's no more testing I can do because what I need to see is not there. And there's no bringing that back. I mean, her neck structures, they're not there. Skin, flesh, it's not there. And it's not that not only can I not tell, no other pathologist is going to have access to this because it's not there. She has decomposed to the point where I can't establish this. I can say I'm very suspicious, and that's where I have to leave it because it's based on the circumstances. And so that's how I came up with my cause and manner of death. By convention, unless I have, again, being consistent, unless I have physical trauma, I tend to call things undetermined and say why. But then we'll go into detail in my report about what my opinion might be. And again, based on my experience, 30 years as a medical examiner with this type of situation, again, young female, deceased, no obvious trauma, and decomposed, well away from where she was last known to be alive. This is different from someone who may have dementia, live in the area, and then shows up dead in the woods somewhere. You know, it's very much dependent upon the circumstances, and these circumstances are very suspicious for homicidal violence, but I can't prove it because of the condition of the remains.
Dr. Terry, based on the recovery of the remains in this case, were you able to make any conclusions about how long the remains had been at the scene where they were at? Yeah, that's it.
They'd been there a while, I would say, and by a while, months, maybe, you know, I think she was last known to be alive in January, and July of 2022, and then the remains were found in February of 2023. So it's consistent with that time period. And I say that because almost all of the flesh is gone. There are a couple of bones that have a slight amount of dried soft tissue, but it's very minimal. And there is some fatty degenerating material referred to as adipocere that's associated with rare bones. But she is almost completely skeletonized. at that point. And so she's been there for
All right, the good doctor was the last witness of the day. There was no cross-examination, so that wraps up our coverage. But let me bring back in our guest here to discuss, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Franz Borghardt. You know, and as medical examiners go, Dr. Terry, she said she was verbose, but she's pretty engaging. But you heard her description there. Pretty convincing that something happened to this young lady.
So I would have found it difficult not to object, Michael, because she started venturing into the realm of speculation. It's either undetermined or it's not undetermined. Now, maybe the defense tactic will be to address this on cross-examination.
No
we have
cross,
to wait
Franz,
and see.
No cross at all.
Oh, Michael. I gotta tell you, that's a missed opportunity because they let her just, look, she is an excellent witness. She was providing excellent testimony. Some of the stuff she was testifying to, however, was purely speculative, right? She doesn't know what the cause of death is. She admitted to much. She's making assumptions. Now, her assumptions, the counter argument is, the assumptions are based on 30 years of experience, right? And other, external circumstances around this young lady's life. However, she does not know the cause of death. It's undetermined. So how in the world do you not cross on that? Oh, missed opportunity. Yeah, missed opportunity, Michael.
And as far as the objection goes, the prosecution would have just said, look, she's an expert. If no one can opine, if anyone can opine, it would be her. So I think the opinion would have been allowed to come in. But you're saying on cross, what might you have done to sort of illuminate the idea that this really was just guesswork?
I would have asked that question. I would have said, isn't it true, doctor, that at the end of the day, undetermined means undetermined? You can't offer any testimony today as to the cause of death. And in fact, Michael, here's one better. She doesn't know if she died there, if she died somewhere else, how long she had been there, other than her assumption that because there's missing flesh and other parts of the biological material that would be consistent with the body, she just assumes she's been out there for a long time. It doesn't mean she wasn't out somewhere else for a long time. There's a lot going on here, right? There's a lot of meat on the bone, and I don't mean any pun behind that. The point is there are opportunities to say, look, undetermined means undetermined. She can't, and it goes back to something we talked about earlier. We are inferring crime of violence. We're inferring rape, right? That's what the prosecution is putting forward. But there's no physical evidence to support that. And that would be what I would harp on in cross. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, just means they didn't prove it.
I might have harped on the whole idea where she was supposing because there were no clothes that it was a rape or something. You know what I mean? Thousand things could have happened to clothes. Anyway, we're out of time, Franz. I got to run. Thanks for being with us on this Friday. As always, we'll see